Hello and welcome to Shark Jets. I'm Skid Vets. Now I've been gone for a little bit, but it's not for the heck of it. I am one of 100 lucky participants selected to be an Oculus Launchpad. Now that's a 3-month program that's supposed to help me and 99 others get better acquainted with the Oculus game system and environment. So it's a 3-month project. We get to make a project for it. It's a 3-month boot camp, and we have to make a project at the end of the 3 months. We got to turn in this project, and it gets judged, and we can win some money, and we get unlimited access, or get more access than the average Joe, to some technical people at Oculus to help us further along our development cycle and experience. Anyways, big words. They're going to teach me how to make games, or help me make games. So that's cool. But as part of that, they have created this. Well, it's not a part of that, but there's this thing called Facebook Horizon, and that's this. And it's going to be like a create your own world sandbox thing for VR. And it's pretty cool, and it's got a lot of features, planned features. Like a hole in my sleeve, but only sometimes. Anyway, oh, there it goes. Oh, I ripped my sleeve. Anyway, so in order to do that, part of the boot camp, they wanted us to create our own world. So I went ahead and did that, and let me go ahead and show that to you and show you how close to Unity this environment is. So without further ado, wait a second, we do need some further ado. Please make sure to like and subscribe so that I know you want more videos from me. So now, let's go ahead and get this started. Okay, I guess I should select the world, right? So let's go ahead and get into create. Find my world, which is called Putting Around, and as you can imagine, it is a miniature golf course. So here we are. Interesting. Okay, so there's some text, which I didn't realize would stay there, but it makes sense that it stays there. See, this is the second time I'm recording this video because I realized the first time I recorded it, I didn't get the audio. So this time, hopefully there is audio. So let's go ahead and let's start from the beginning. Okay, so this is the player view that you're looking at. So it is how you would interact with it if you weren't a developer. So it's basically a miniature golf course. There's a golf club, and if you hover or point towards it, you get these little circles that lets you know you can pick up something. If you pull the trigger, it kind of teleports over to you, and then you can go ahead and line up a shot. And if you don't hit the ground, you can hit the ball. Throw that around. And then there's a switch here that lets you reset the ball. So as you can see, if I push that, the ball goes back to its home position. And if I hit the ball into the hole, sorry, I'm terrible at this. Let me just cheat real quick. Go in the hole, ball. Ah! It's gone too far. There we go. Here we go. Oh. Yeah! So you can hear there's a sound and some confetti. And so this is the player side of things. Pretty cool, just 3 holes to start with, but easy to make. So if you pull down on the right stick, you see this little thing, the little guy there with the wrench. That will take you into, or if you set your thumb on the button, it also tells you the tooltip. But basically, that'll take you into build mode, where you can create the world. So these are your interface, your GUI to this world. And like I said, if you put your thumb on the controller but don't push it on the joysticks, you can get tooltips that tell you what all the buttons do. So up is of course grab, you can pick things up. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Alright, moving, see, moving is a little weird, right? If you press your middle finger trigger, that lets you move the world around, or move yourself around the world, however you want to look at it. And if you press both middle finger triggers, then you get to scale the world in and out, which is also kind of cool. And you can have multiple people working on one world, so you can have your friends in here and you can either see them down there or they can be gods like you. But basically your top one here on the right is your selector, so if you go close to something you'll see it. If you hold the trigger you can move it. It's got handles on it so you can move it along an axis. It's also got these little rotating things so you can rotate it around that axis. And then it's got the cube thingy, which is for scaling it along an axis. So that's kind of cool. Same with the sides and with the top here. Now every object has properties, so if you go into it like that, into its area there, you'll see how that top one turns into 3 dots. That lets you get into its properties. Now this is where we start to see some similarities with Unity. We've got the text, so you can go ahead and change the text. Hello world. Okay. Return. And you can see now it says hello world. And you can make it visible or hidden, and then enable it programmatically. Then we've got the attributes, which are very similar to Unity. You can tag something. You can affect its color and its position and its rotation and its scale, all just like Unity. And then we have this right one is a clone tool. So basically if I switch over to that, anything I pick up automatically creates a copy. So if I come back here and just pull this out, you'll see now there's 2 of them, and now there's 3 of them, and it'll keep making copies until I deselect that clone tool. To delete things, you just select something, pick it up, and the menu changes, and you'll see that trash can on the bottom. So just pull back, and it's gone. Perfect. The bottom one here is normally it's the lock one, so if you're accidentally picking things up that you don't want to pick up, you can toggle that lock thing and go in there and click on it, and you see that yellow border now turns red, and so if I were to switch back to the grab tool, I can't pick that up anymore. On the left here we've got paintbrush, which if you hit that and pull up your menu by pushing the actual button on the controller, you will see all these different colors. Scale this down a bit. So you can just go ahead and pick a color and then grab something and pull the trigger, and that will make it that color. And there's different color materials. So see, this is just like a flat matte color. You can switch over to a plastic. It's barely noticeable. Let's take the intensity up, see what that does. Yeah, see how it's nice and glossy now? There's also metal, which is super reflective. And then you can also make it emissive, which creates light around that area. Baking is automatic, light baking, so if you were to move that, you would see that other section would light up after a second. So that's kind of cool. When you press this menu, like I showed you here, you get this interface which lets you pick your pieces. So you've got shapes, so you can grab a piece and resize it and do whatever you want to it and then place it wherever you want. And there's also other things here. There's gizmos, and gizmos is a trigger. Like this green box here is a trigger. So it acts just like a trigger in Unity. It's just a not visible area where if something crosses it, an event can happen or be triggered. Doors are portals to other worlds, so if you create multiple worlds and you want to kind of link them together, you can do that way, or you can link to your favorite worlds in Horizon. Text, as you see here, is just a text that you can edit and place wherever you want. A spawn point is this little person right here, which basically determines where you start the game when you join the world and which direction you're facing in. Sound recorder is cool. It's basically if you want to record your own sound effects or narrative or whatever, you can go ahead and select it and go into its properties and hit record, and then say something like, let me stop this and try it again. Welcome to the magical golf course. Grab a club and hit some balls. I don't know why I did it like that, but welcome to the magical golf course. Grab a club and hit some balls. So you can, provide a narrative or, instructions or anything like that. You can just make creepy background noises or whatever and loop it. You can decide whether it plays when it starts, if everyone in the world can hear it, or if they have to be near it to hear it. It's got attributes just like everything else. So that's really cool and handy. You'll see that a lot. Particle effects, as you see there, it's literally just that. So let's go ahead and switch its properties to looping so that it's always doing it. And you can see this one in particular is a cloud smoke. Smoke poof is the default one. But there's others like a spark, a ring, which is pretty cool, smoke trail for your missiles and explosives, confetti burst, which I'm using in the golf course, a sparkle, which is good for like pointing people to certain areas, getting people's attention. Uh-oh, we're broken. This is in beta, so there's still some bugs. There's a sparkle, water spray, and a water burst. And that's pretty cool. I use that in some places here. There's also a trail effect, which as you can see, it just provides a little trail. I'm also using that on the ball so you can see where the ball is going. That's cool. The environment is basically the light skybox? The skybox, right. So I'm going to delete this one because I already have one here. So if I go into it and select its properties, which is here, you can see that there's several options. There's sunrise. Now watch the environment too as it changes. So I'm going to pick daytime, and you can see everything got a little brighter down there. So it's doing the light baking. I'm going to do sunset. Everything gets darker, overcast, nighttime. That looks nice. Midnight black, and twilight. Like that. You can determine if everyone can hear everyone speaking, no matter where they are, or if they have to be close. And stuff like that. If there's fog, you can and determine how dense it is. Alright, so that's cool. There's also scripting, which we'll cover in a second. And there's a sounds tab with different sound effects. There's a ton of sound effects. As you can see, this little tiny slider. I mean, there's plenty of sound effects for you. And there's also background sounds. Like if you can hear this time, you can hear birds chirping, and that would be quiet park. But there's also heavy rain, city, stuff like that. There's also background music, which there is background music in this level, but I've disabled it because it was overriding everything. But plenty of music to choose from. We've covered this tab. This is where the colors are. This is the properties for your world. And this one here is your debug screen, your debug log, basically, the console. So if you reset, you'll restart the world and put everything where it was initially. And also if there's any errors or anything, they'll show up here. So let's go into some scripting. Right, we've got these purple cubes, and those are scripts. This whole one basically is there's a trigger like this one in every hole, and when the ball falls into the trigger, it triggers the win event, which is basically the confetti fires and some sound effect plays. So basically, what you do is you add a trigger object, which does nothing by default. So in this case, let's just zoom in here real quick. We've got this trigger, which is pretty big. We have a sound effect that I picked, which is the cat one. They call it Cute Angry Alien, but I'm sure that's a cat. I have it turned off so it's not automatically playing. So something is going to trigger, and you can see these lines, right, because something is connected. And so I also have this cube, which actually starts up here, but gravity knocks it down. So if you go into its properties, you can see that the cube is visible, it's collidable, it's interactive, and the type of interaction it has is it is either grabbable or physics or both. And is it affected by gravity? Yes. And what kind of physics material do we want to assign to it? There's different kinds. We'll just leave it at the default for now. So we have a script object here that I created, and it's basically one of those snapping types of programming languages. It is. So as you can see, the script name is trigger cat. You can call it whatever you want. And then you can pick an event from, or a condition from this first tab here. So you can either make an if statement, or have something happen when the game is loaded, or when an event is received, or when a trigger enters an object, or when an object enters a trigger, which is the one that we picked here. So basically that's on trigger enter, on trigger exit, on trigger enter and exit, but it's only checking for the player. If there's a collision, when something is grabbed, there's a bunch of different options here, which is pretty cool. So this is the on trigger enter, and when an object enters it, something is going to happen. So we just drag and drop this other action here, play a sound. The sound is on a variable called cat. So this tab here at the end is your custom variables. So you can create a bunch of variables of these different types: a number, a boolean, object, a player ID, which is a string, vector3, rotation, color, and string. So you can give it a name and assign stuff to it. So I've created 3 variables because I was having some issues, but I got one for box, for cat, for cube, and so I just dragged that cat variable into this box, and it will play that variable called cat. So now that I've created this script, a very simple script, is there a trigger with an object, play a sound, right? So then I have to assign it, and I did that over here on the trigger. You can see the trigger is enabled. It is triggered by objects instead of the player. So this would trigger it if I walk into it. Otherwise, it's going to be triggered by an object with a tag. So it's just like in Unity, you can assign tags. So let's go back to this cube real quick. So if you go into the attributes for the cube, you'll see that I've added a tag to it called box. And over here, we're saying only respond to objects with a tag of box. And then these are the variables down here. I'll just go ahead and assign these real quick. Right? So how do you assign a variable? First of all, how do you pick a script, right? So if you've made the script, you got to come to this drop down, and it'll show you all available scripts. I pick trigger cat. And then you need to assign something to these variables, and you do it with these little plugs, right? So this is the box, so I'm going to assign it to that box one. I'm also going to assign it to cube, because they're both the same in this case. Doesn't matter, doesn't do anything there. And then we've got the sound effect, right? So we need to attach the sound effect as well. Same thing, we just grab its connector and plug that in. Now it's picking that sound and that cue. So pretty simple, pretty similar to what you're used to in Unity. And if we go into play mode, which is this one here, and I grab that box and throw it in its general direction, you should hear the cat. And there's nothing if I run through it, but if the box goes into it, it makes the kitty cat whine. So that's it. It's pretty similar. I just repeated the same thing for the different holes, created some bricks using the shapes, and it's got a lot of potential. There's still, it's still in beta, and there's still some rough edges to it, but it's pretty cool. So you can also take pictures. It's got a little camera, a little selfie stick you can pick up and be cool with your inventions. So, if you found this video helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe, and join my Discord, join my Patreon, join my family, do whatever you want to do. Just stay in touch so that I know you want these videos made. If you want more on Horizon, let me know. I will show you how to make more things and how to do more things. Part of the boot camp is I need to do a project in 3 months, so I will be documenting that as well. So stay tuned and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.